Hello everyone and welcome to the last part of the talk, The Rise of Intelligent Production, COVID-19 as an Accelerator, where we are trying to shed light on the perspectives of humanity in the 21st century, trying to see if COVID-19, whether and how COVID-19 can act as an accelerator of the ongoing societal transformation we have been experiencing over the last years. So in this last part, after we went through a journey of throughout the history of humankind, trying to identify the main processes that govern the history, trying to see how different pandemics and natural events acted as accelerators, we try to extract the necessary knowledge in order to really answer the fundamental question of this talk: can COVID-19 act as an accelerator of societal transformation? So it seems a little bit unnecessary to describe the COVID-19 reality around us, since we are all experiencing it. Nevertheless, it's important to highlight some aspects for all to see a little bit clearer what's going on, right? So I think we've all observed that COVID-19 requires us to stay at home. At least those fortunate enough of us to have a place to call home, we stay at home, we stay protected, we stay safe with this pandemic around us. So maybe we have experienced over this period telemedicine, e-learning, online job interviews, remote administration, door-to-door delivery. We have been streaming movies maybe instead of going to the cinemas, right? At the same time, during this period, the unemployment in the US rose from 3.8% in February, back in February, to 11.1% in June. And the majority of the businesses that close in Yelp, which is more than 55% of these businesses that close in Yelp, they close for good. This translates to above 70,000 businesses, at least with data since March 1st. And at the same time, the big tech is the big winner. Amazon, Apple, Facebook, Google, and of course, Zoom. They raise their revenues consistently. At the same time, COVID-19 requires accurate data collection, right? We need accurate data collection in order not only to follow the pandemic, and not only to understand the world around us, to explain it, to analyze it, in order to also predict it, right? And at the very end, also alter it, right? Intervene. So in this context, COVID-19 asks for extended data collection and accurate data collection networks, and also requires national and international collaboration and cooperation on many levels, such as on medical research. Arguably, collaboration and cooperation on drug and vaccine development research could be essential for faster and more efficient delivery of vaccines, if possible, to the population. We need cooperation on proactive production of medical equipment, of protective equipment, right? We've seen at the beginning of the pandemic, due to the lack of such equipment, the huge implications that this had for the society, right? We need cooperation and collaboration on lockdowns and quarantine measures, not only at the national, but also at the international level. So going back now to the journey that we started many parts ago in this talk, starting from the preconditions and the birth of production, we have identified two main processes, right? At the beginning with the birth of production, we have identified the process of integration and the process of automation. That although their preconditions exist already from the pre-Neolithic revolution era, already in the hunter and gatherer societies, with the existence of gift exchange for the integration and traps, for instance, for the automation process. Those two processes, they become more clearly, more readily apparent, more clear after the Neolithic revolution, with the emergence of production, with the birth of production, right? And interestingly, the birth of production coincides with the end of the Ice Age, which acts, as we've seen, could have acted, as we've seen, as an accelerator of societal transformation in this respect, right? Further on, now the process of integration and process of automation, we've seen how they further elaborate. And soon, after the crisis of the 14th century, with the emergence of capitalism, the technological advancements and innovation further accelerates. And we see the further elaboration, fast-paced elaboration of the process of automation and the process of integration, which leads us until now, where I argue in this talk that we are experiencing the preconditions of a new process that comes into existence, a new process that comes to substitute, if you wish, the process of automation, which we call process of autonomization, where instead of just substituting now the repetitive, mainly the repetitive human labor, we're substituting non-repetitive labor. And we've seen in the previous talks that repetitive labor is mainly non-creative in a manner that's not creating something novel, while repetitive labor is more creative. Of course, no labor can be classified completely to one or the other label, all right? There are very few labors that are clearly repetitive or clearly non-repetitive. And that's why the process of autonomization needs to start. The process of substituting non-repetitive labor needs to start in order to be able to reach near absolute extent, almost conclude, if you wish, the process of automation to substitute repetitive labor. Because we need to be able to substitute also the small part of non-repetitiveness that these predominantly repetitive labors have, right? So in this context, we're experiencing the rise of a process autonomization or the rise of intelligent production in this context, right? And right now we are in the preconditions of this birth, right? Arguably. And we've seen now that COVID-19 could act as an accelerator of this process of autonomization, as it requires us to stay at home. It requires us to automate, and why not automatize the production? And at the same time, it requires extended collaboration and data collection. So it also supports further the process of integration, if you think about it, right? So I think going through this history of humankind through the eyes of a computer scientist, that we are able to identify the main processes and see how pretty much the reality that COVID-19 brings on the table, brings around us, coincides, right, with the path that those processes are following. And in this context, it is my strong belief that COVID-19 can act as an accelerator of societal transformation. Now, one can regard the process of autonomization as a new process that emerges, that comes to substitute the process of automation, or a continuation of the process of automation, which is being slowly but steadily transforming itself to a process of autonomization. As the process of autonomization and the process of automation conclude, you can imagine that a full autonomized production would be fully integrated, right? And we've discussed a little bit about the aspects of thinking in the limit in the previous chapter, in the previous part, right? Here we can think in terms of utopias, how the world would like it to be, or dystopias, how the world can be that we really don't want to go there, right? And as in computer science, as in engineering, utopia and dystopia points, they are not reachable. They act as points that we want to go towards, or points that we want to avoid, right? So they act as a measure of how well we are doing or how bad we are doing, right? So a very nice discussion can emerge there of how the fully integrated production could be, right? And I mentioned the previous part, Star Trek there, right? Which is, for me, it will be a very utopia way of living. We are philosophizing, enjoying our lives, and the machine are really producing for us, right? A big discussion can emerge there. But before we go even close to this point, we need to understand the socioeconomic and environmental implications that this transformation has today. And we've seen in the previous part that there are tons of socioeconomic and environmental implications. We've seen machine ethics being at the essence, importantly, right, at the essence of the process of autonomization as an implication. And what does it mean? We've seen data privacy. And I believe that this societal transformation and the fact that this societal transformation is highly now being accelerated, could be accelerated by COVID-19. This asks for a collaborative effort, interdisciplinary and collaborative effort, and an ongoing societal dialogue in order to understand, to shed light on this societal transformation and the implication of this societal transformation. So I hope that this talk shed some valuable light on this direction, and I would be more than happy to answer any questions that you have or read your comments. So please leave a comment below. And here you can find some books, some main references and influence of mine. So you might think, okay, some of these books, they don't look like they are very much related to this talk, but trust me, they really influence the way of thinking of mine and help me conclude on some of the ideas that you've seen in this talk. So thank you very much. And as I said, please leave a comment to engage in a fruitful dialogue.